Alright, so here we will be designing the pneumatics boards for this year's robot. The compressor is going to have to be off board due to calculations for where it would go resulted in being too small for the compressor we're using to fit. So components we do have to work on including is 3 solenoids, our pressure regulator, pressure switch, 2 gauges, the pressure relief, or not relief, release valve, and we're going to use one of these mounts for the regulator. This we'll go ahead and put on now. You just slide this over, take your ring, and then this is now mounted. So we're going to push it close. We have 2.5 inches height-wise to really work with, but these solenoids, since we're going to use 3, they're going to have to be stacked on top of each other, and it's going to be a hair bigger than that. So first thing we're going to take into account, which we'll put on one board, is using these solenoids. First we're going to just take a screwdriver and move this electrical piece so it's aimed outwards. So then we can just take this now, after loosening that one bolt, slide it back on, and tighten it back up. So this will be the configuration of the solenoids. Then one thing we'll have to take into account is room for running our tubing. So off the bottom we'll put pretty much close to a 90 so we can push it as close this way as we can. Because as you can see, we only have 2 of these small sheets to work with for the board. And actually what we're going to do is just push it so the top of the electrical connector is there. Then we'll have 3 stacked on top of this. Then, for the most part, I think this is going to consume a lot of the side on this board, plus whatever we use to split the tubings to feed this. So we'll just quickly sketch this one in. And then we just marked it an S for solenoid. Alright, so on our other one, we're going to aim to include the switch and the regulator. We may have to include the gauges and valve, but we're going to push to try and remotely locate those. So we may even work on putting the switch back over on this other one so that all the wires run near each other for this whole board. But that's not very likely right now. 'Cause even though ideally we could mount it right here, but that is a lot more tubes to run back and forth. So back down to this one. If you look at your regulator, there's a flow through. So ideally, when we're looking at it, so up, these will go on opposite sides of the robot, like such. And then up here will be the back of the robot, and up here will be the front. So we do want to try and make all our passages run through quite nicely. So when you look at our regulator, we'll want to mount it so our main output tube is running across. Unless if we decide to run smaller air tanks to help maintain a low side pressure. Then one thing we'll probably consider is mounting our pressure switch right at the input of the regulator. So that these will mount more like so. So we'll go ahead and sketch this up right now. So this was a little rough, but you can see the point. So here you go. We'll use green threads. We'll use orange and green. So with these side by side, green being our low, we'll have our output from our regulator that splits for our solenoids. And then we'll have our high side, which goes into our regulator, and from our other air tanks to our compressor and such. So we're going to quickly draw this up into a simple diagram on how our system will operate. So our system will be divided into 4 sections. And that will show our first section will be our compressor section. So here we're going to take our compressor and its output. So here we have our compressor, and then from here we'll go into a T with our pressure relief valve, and then from there we'll go into a compression fitting to run with the tube. So then our second section will be our left panel. And 3 will be our right panel. And 4 will be our remote panel. So, up at our remote panel, we're going to have 2 pressure gauges, one for our high side and one for our low side. Will also contain our ball valve on this side too. So back down so we're going to have this line that comes down to our panel. From our panel we'll have our switch, from that it will feed our regulator, and then our regulator will split off to the right panel, along with it'll come up, which will then also meet with another line. So our high side will come across and split between this ball valve and our high gauge, and this other line will come across to our low gauge. Then in our right panel, it's going to go, we'll have 3 solenoids, which is where this will have to split to go to the 3.